Hello, everyone. I wanted to just kind of say a few more things today and make a huge adjustment on our assignment. I thought about it for 2 days, and I really don't think I set up the last assignment the way I wanted to. And I've done what I assigned y'all to do many times, but I decided that that's just kind of not really what I want you to think about. Basically, what I want you to realize is the first part of this class is as much about learning how to see, how to look at things, how to overcome our tendency to just take the world as this sort of generic thing that we see, and to become a very insightful observer. Someone that when you look at something, you can actually understand the complexity of how everything is existing in space and all of that. So I really think that what I want to change on the assignment will help you start to be able to have this whole other, basically it's like seeing in 2 dimensions simultaneously. Because basically what we do is we learn to focus on something that we're, looking at, and we just kind of assign it its identification, and then that's it. We have a natural inclination, which if you want, I have other videos on YouTube talking about how children's drawings develop, and those will explain how our mind works, the reason that we see things in a certain simplistic way, and that we have to learn how to overcome that. So basically what we're wanting to do on this assignment is learn how to completely reverse what it is we're paying attention to. We want to stop looking at the object itself and kind of see what's around the object. So here's what we're going to do. It was also, I didn't want to give you a new assignment that you had to get done in time for next week. So what we're going to do is just adjust the one that we're doing. So what I'm going to do now is show you kind of what the idea is, and hopefully you can have more fun with this, be creative with your arrangement, and then, your drawing.
Okay, so when I was looking around my house to see something interesting to draw, I was thinking, do I stack things up? Do I drape things off of something? I was looking at chairs that had, the interesting shapes. But I came across one of my grandson's little car toy mountains, and I realized it had all kinds of interesting shapes and openings and all that. So that's what I decided, is to set that in front of a window, because if I look at it, I could just pay attention to all those interesting little light shapes that are showing through in places. So whatever it is that you choose to draw, whether you stack up boxes or toys or drape things, do an arrangement that has little openings in between things. Because basically what we want to do is focus on drawing just those light shapes that are showing. So on this drawing, to help you see the way I see, I adjusted it to where the background became totally white, and then I made everything else, all the object, as dark as possible, but I couldn't get it all the way to black. But that's okay, because you're seeing what we have to do is train our eye to really pay attention to those shapes. So what you're going to do is try to just look and draw each of those light shapes individually. And then as you start to get them placed, you're going to be able to go back and adjust them to make them start to form connections and line up.
So basically what I want you to realize is on that drawing, what we're going to do now is basically decide how in the world are we going to frame it. I mean, I have mine close enough to the window that I'm going to use pretty much the sides as my framing, but how close to the top do I want to come, and where on the bottom do I want to chop it off? So when you're doing your drawings, one I've noticed is some of y'all want to show me what you were working from. In this class, I don't care what you're working from. I don't even need to see it, because I don't want to have to measure what you've done against the original. You get to do that on this assignment because I showed you the original as an example, but basically realize once you've got that on there, you can take an artistic license, move things around, adjust things to make this work for you. If you have already bought dark paper, either black or a dark gray or something, you might want to use that on this assignment. Or if you need to go find some, you can probably find like smaller size construction paper. I'd say get as large a piece as you can. The bookstore has some paper in drawers. If you go up to the school bookstore, there's racks with some paper, and there's also drawers. Or if you don't have paper and just can't get any, you can take your charcoal. But I just quickly took my charcoal and then I sealed it with my spray fixative. But the problem is, see all this light area? My spray fixative was really old. I shook it up really well, but for some reason, I guess the humidity or something today had a reaction. So all of this light area is actually where my medium I sprayed over it kind of turned light. So I've tried to go back over it, but I don't want to fight that. I want to get this video made for you all as soon as possible. So basically what we're going to do, you think about the picture that I took. I'm only going to allude to it, and I want you all to find your way to do what I'm showing you. But definitely you're going to define your picture plane. And I'm using my, it's called a China marker. It's basically a waxy pencil, and it writes really well on here. And what'll happen is that my, the chalk I'm going to use will react differently to this than the paper. So as you saw from my photo, I wanted a more, narrow, taller, vertical design. So what I'm going to do now is basically show you how to think and interpret what we're drawing. What we want to do is not what I said before. I don't want you to think about what's in the background, all that, trees, foliage, whatever. I've done that drawing in classes before, and it's turned out interesting, and some people do a really cool job. But after thinking about this for a couple days, I was like, man, I don't feel right about it. I realized that what I'm wanting you to do is not even think about what's back there. I don't want you to think about the object. I don't want you to think about what's in the background. I want you to think about where that boundary is between object and background. I want you to simply see that positive, negative, and see it reversed. What I want you to do is look for the light areas. The light areas around and inside the object, I want you to draw those as the object, as the shape. I want you to look at each one of those little places and draw it as a shape. So I'm not going to refer back to my image just to save time. What I want it to be is just kind of see what I'm doing, and then when you're drawing, you'll have all that information to work with. So I know there is this area that comes out here. So what I'm thinking about is, what is this shape? I want this to be all of these light shapes on this dark surface, and then you're going to draw them to where the little places that they kind of imply that they connect our mind through the Gestalt effect. It's one of the coolest things our mind does. You can have so much fun in art learning to use the Gestalt effect where, if I'm drawing this shape here, and then I know that over here is like another ramp or a loop. If this line believably connects to that line, our mind, even though we're going to draw these as two separate shapes, I'm just making that up. Even though I'm going to draw this as one light shape up here, this is what happens if you use this method. It's why it looks better if you can get some black paper. But I'm not worried about the end result on this. I want to see how well you look at the shapes. But when I start to draw the shapes in, as I draw shapes in, any line that connects, I want to make sure that that's, because that will become a line that our mind sees as part of this structure. So even though we're not drawing the object itself, we're drawing the shapes that are the light background. When we're done, our mind will start to see that those light areas, even though we're actually drawing light shapes on a dark background, we're defining the positive actually by drawing the negative. And that's what this is all about. What I want you to get from this exercise and observation is learning to focus on just those relationships of those shapes around the object. Because my point in the first part of this class is definitely to get you all to see. That's the most important. These are all just tricks of how to see things. As you learn to see different and learn how to use these drawing techniques, these will be just like I grab different materials for whatever I'm doing. You're going to be grabbing different mental materials. When you're doing a drawing, sometimes you'll say, oh, I need to draw that with a blind contour to get the right effect. Or you might be like, man, that's just a lot of stuff. I just need to do a quick gesture. I cannot tell you how many times when I'm looking at a subject, I start looking at the shapes around the objects to go, hey, to build this and make it all work, I need to connect that line. Or I need to see this shape over here in relationship to that shape over there. So that's what this is really all about. This is about learning to see and developing this other very, very useful, and I mean, it changes the way you see things. You start to be able to see both object and negative space as equivocal. And as you get into advanced art, equivocal space is one of those, foundational things that you learn how to work with. So that's what this is about. This is not about the background. I don't care if you draw in every tree that's showing. I don't even want you to pay attention to those. I want you to just force your mind to focus on what is this slight shape that's up in this corner? What is this little shape that's right there? If there's another little shape there. And I want your drawing to become the accumulation of all those shapes. And then as you look, I want you to think about, well, how do those connect? So if this and this are actually implied, I need that line to come up there. So see how all of a sudden, and if there's a vertical structure, I need to make sure that that vertical line is parallel to this vertical line. Same thing over here. If that's a vertical line and that's a curve, what's this shape here? And if this is coming that way, I'm just making it up. That's why this is kind of a mess. But you can start to see how drawing those shapes in. I'm just thinking about the negative space as a light shape on a dark background. And see how I start to define the object. This is what I want your final drawing to look like. It does, if you have this, try to find a way to maybe make it a little bit nicer. But this right here, that even if we see some of these little gestural lines, just try to straighten up any little point that's like a connection. Just kind of sharpen those up because that helps us define the lines. And then if I see like how this line needs to be parallel to that one, just pull this shape over. As you're finishing your drawing, just look at any lines that connect. Make sure those lines match up. And that's the beauty of drawing on the black, is you just have to move one of them over. So now that I've got the parallel lines, see how all of that starts to be a form? And we all of a sudden, especially squint. It's okay as an artist to squint. I stand in front of paintings and drawings and artwork in the museum and I'll stand there squinting. I don't care because it's about me interacting with that artwork. I don't care what the people around me think. Why is he squinting? I'm squinting because I'm appreciating aspects of that art that y'all are not even noticing because maybe you never thought to squint. But on something like this, squint and look at it. And that's when you'll be able to start to see the overall. Now the problem is I overcommitted because this, well, actually it's not as bad as I thought. But there you go. That's kind of what I want you to do. Find or make a dark paper. What I'm using here is 99-cent chalk from Dollar General. So realize that in commerce, I know there's a Dollar General, you've got Walmart, but you have to cross the highway. Also, I think there's a Dollar Tree is where I got the chalk. There's a Dollar General in commerce. There's maybe one of the grocery stores. I know some of this stuff's in the school bookstore, but it can be expensive. But if any of y'all are friends or know each other, shoot, get on the Facebook group and say, hey, let's all go in and buy a box of chalk. That's all you got to do. But I want y'all to definitely take your time on this and really have fun focusing on just drawing the positive light shapes that you're seeing. So, any questions, please let me know. I'm going to make this due late Monday. I won't make this due early Monday. I'll let it be due late Monday.